thought he knew.
Sorry about that.
No. Was that part of
Fine.
it? Okay. I would like to open the Georgetown Planning Board Wednesday, August 27th, 2014 Planning Board meeting. Public hearing. We have approval of minutes first on the agenda.
Still working on minutes.
Got
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I move that we postpone that till the next meeting.
Second.
Hearing a motion seconded. No discussion. All in favor? Aye. It. How do, Bob?
Howdy. Welcome back.
I think.
Want to just mention for the record that Tilly Evangelista, Rob Hoover, Harry Locatilia, and Bob Watts are all present and accounted for, but
You just did.
7, well, yeah,
There
it's
you
a good
go.
point. It's a good
There you
point.
go.
Now it's in record.
All right. Correspondence. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to talk about for correspondence? Okay. I'm just gonna go past that then with regards to, we have 2 vouchers.
Yeah, we'll do it later.
The vouchers, we'll get rid of those guys.
Sounds like a plan. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the vouchers in the total of, do we have a total sheet here? Or are we breaking it to be,
No total sheet.
2-5.
we'd make a motion that we approve the vouchers for the Mass Association of Planning Directors to the amount of
$85.
$85, and also pay the bill for the North of Boston Georgetown Record legal advertisement to the tune of $257.18.
The total balance is $342.18.
Am I looking at there's 2 invoices?
Yeah,
2 invoices. You just gave the total number,
the total for the two,
which
Oh,
was
my
again,
apologies.
what? 314 what?
$342.18.
4218. Okay.
Second that motion.
Okay, motion made, seconded by Tilly. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, 1 absent. Okay. We're gonna go to the A&R plan, 102 Pond Street. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Howard, you wanna?
Well, the A&R came before the board 2 weeks ago, and it was discussed that if 102 Pond Street, if all the lots were combined, it would leave parcel 100 without frontage. And so applicants are here. I've had some discussion with them, some attorneys familiar with the subdivision, and I've had conversations with the resident of 100 Pond Street. And it's a belief that the board can endorse the plan, so it's recommended that the applicant withdraw their A&R application, and instead, through discussion tonight, the applicant and the board can understand how to best file to get this resolved in terms of combining the lots and getting all the previous permits and approvals undone, so it's clear from here on out. So one thing that I put together, but is not presented in your packet, is I put together in the same file a few different plans for discussion. This first sheet, this plan of land, is Pond Street, this being 102 and this being 100. And this is the existing conditions of the 2 properties prior to the subdivision application. Next plan we have is what was approved by the board, showing 100 here as Lot 2, and the home that existed at the time and still does on 102 Pond Street removed, and instead it becomes Lot 1. The next plan I provided for the board this is the A&R application, seeking to combine these lots with what was then known as 100 Pond Street, which has since been sold off. What I did was I created an overlay showing it's all washed out. What was included in the A&R and is approved in the subdivision, and here's lot 2 with the old and the new lot lines. And then what is a possible solution for the applicant to come back and apply for a definitive subdivision, with 100 and 102 being the applicants, showing this property and this property returned to the pre-subdivision or the 1962 to 2005 condition, with 150 feet of frontage on the 2. Now, what is also shown on here, in the applicant's making a notice of intent before the Conservation Commission, there's an old, what is subject on your property now from Concom?
Enforcement order.
An
It's
enforcement order,
for
okay.
Title VII.
Seeking for the existing driveway to be taken out of the 100-foot area. And through the subdivision process and approval by the planning board, it could show the new driveway over in this location to satisfy the Conservation Commission. They'll be out of their jurisdiction. There's an isolated land subject to flooding, which is local jurisdiction only. There's a vernal pool recognized by the state up here, and that's where the 100-foot setback area comes into play right here. So, it's recommended that the board explore the idea of the applicant coming back with a definitive subdivision, and the board seeking approval of that, but but the applicant seeking a waiver from the lot frontage requirements to return it back to the 1967 condition that the zoning board issued a variance on. But in conversations with the planning board member, where the 2005 finding by the zoning board, it basically says that if the subdivision doesn't happen, it reverts back to the 67 condition. But there is a part of that that wasn't recorded. So to remove some of that confusion in a conversation with Harry, it is suggested that the applicant come back and do an open space residential design, which is in essence, a subdivision application. And that way the board, the planning board, can grant the waiver of 150-foot frontage instead of the 160 through a special permit process.
So it's a subdivision with one unit on it,
No, a subdivision with 2.
okay. But it's two pieces of property.
Right, the approved subdivision would show the 2 lots back to the pre-2005 existing conditions.
Okay. The board, I was gonna go to these folks, give them an opportunity to share whatever they wanna share at this point, if anything, and then we're gonna come back and we'll start chatting.
Yeah, we just wanted to, first, I just wanted to thank Howard for doing this research and digging up this info. I mean, after the last meeting, we kind of got surprised with the frontage issue. We thought it would be a home run to revert the lots back to one lot, and I just want to thank him for, helping us out, and he was on the phone and talking with people, and my wife did a ton of work as well, and we knew before we purchased this property there could be some issues with 10 years of meetings and whatnot. So again, I wanted to thank the board just for hearing us, and at this time we do want to move forward and continue with this house. We've been doing a lot of work trying to clean it up. It's been neglected for a while, and we'd like to see it come back to its glory. The property is beautiful, and as you see, a lot of the people that have showed up here at the meeting have been invested for the last 10 years and seeing what's been going on, and I've had the pleasure of meeting them all and making friends with them, and getting the approval for what we're doing, and it's a good feeling. It's nice to be up here. So we're looking to try to resolve, the particulars of the frontage issues and the conservation. We've spoke with Steve several times, and so we're looking forward to your consideration in this matter, and I guess it's going to be 2 meetings from now. Hopefully we can get a decision hammered out, and we'll get if we have to get any finalization on the drawings, and
You have not built a new home. You're in the same
Correct.
home that existed prior to the 2005 subdivision.
Yep.
And the same with 100 as well.
correct. Yeah, home stands as is, as it looks on this drawing. You can see the little steps that are out front. That's all existing. Like I said, people have been watching us. Have some exterior people working on the logs and whatnot. So we're really trying to bring the house back. And I've heard a lot of good things over the years of people that lived there in the past. So should be nice. We have 2 young kids as well, so the sooner we can get into this house, and the better for us, and before the winter season.
For sure.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm just curious, are most everyone here in regards to this project? Could you raise your hand, just see how many people, who's who? All right.
Could I say something?
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna bring it back to the board right now, and we're gonna go through ourselves, and then I'll bring it back out to the public for comment, for sure.
It is not a public hearing. So these people are here to listen to an A&R application. And the discussion is about the board or the applicant withdrawing or the board not endorsing, and what can be done to resolve the issues that came up through the A&R. So
Can they comment?
they can comment.
Right.
It's
You
just
want.
being,
Entirely up to you.
Right.
100% up to you.
Right, right. Okay,
right.
all right. Bob, do you wanna start with any more questions, or?
I think it sounds like a great thing that you're doing, and I want to make sure that our response is appropriate to the bylaws and works correctly, so that nothing will ever come up again to say, well, if we didn't blah, blah, blah. The idea of, I think it's a very clever idea to deal with it as a subdivision. Is there a precedent for doing this kind of subdivision?
I wouldn't say if it's a precedent, but it's a unique way of resolving the issues, and a subdivision takes into lot line adjustments. If it can't be an A&R, then it's a subdivision.
Well, what's the one near Phillips that we did OSRD? There was one near Phillips,
On Thurlow,
off of Thurlow, right almost abutting Phillips. There was a particularly ugly-looking 3-lot subdivision that technically met our subdivision regs for lots, and it was just, I don't know, it was very clever, but it was, it really wasn't in character with the neighborhood. And so, Nick Cracknell, the former planner, came up with the idea that we turn it into an OSRD. By turning it into an OSRD, that empowers, that's to my knowledge, the only time that the planning board is actually allowed to waive frontage. Other than that, the only ones that can waive frontages, you have to get the Board of Appeals. But under OSRD, because it's special permit, we can waive frontage. We waived frontage on 2 lots, put them right on the street, so that they fit right in with the rest of the neighborhood, and then one in back, and it worked out real well. I think it worked out well. I mean, I guess it's all aesthetics, but it fit the neighborhood a heck of a lot better. To my knowledge, that's the only reason that when I discussed this with Howard today, we were talking about the OSRD, because that actually lets us, under special permit, this board, one fell swoop, waive the frontage, it's done, you're protected forever. The folks that live at 100 are protected forever. And it may not, it seemed like an elegant solution. because although it may not be as quick as you would like, it might be very elegant in the respect that you have some kind of issue going on with the Concom that I remember from years ago. And OSRD will give you an opportunity to talk to them and potentially come up with some kind of a resolution to that enforcement
Yep.
as well.
How does the OSRD come into play with Concom?
There's usually an open space, what's it called, set aside? Or a CR, they like that kind of stuff.
Does that make sense to you?
God bless you.
Yeah.
The Concom may seek some land for the ability for the lot lines to be done. And it's a simple matter in this instance with the driveway being shifted and
Right.
getting out of the wetland area, which may be enough to satisfy
Okay.
Concom.
Yeah, I mean, Concom was thrilled that we were talking about moving the driveway away and giving up that buffer, because,
So are you saying there would be open space on, like, up near the vernal pool? Is that?
Well, let's, yeah, instead
I'm
of.
not gonna guess for Concom, but
It's-
sometimes what they do is, if you move the driveway, maybe part of the land way back being protected up against other land that's protected. They really like that, and they give you the benefit of the doubt and work something out. Maybe. I mean,
Bob, did you have any other? Okay, Harry, did you have any other?
I just wish there was an elegant, quick, easy way to just approve your A&R tonight, sign a Mylar, and let you guys go, but,
we could.
you know, there's no way I can, in good conscience, do that, because you have appropriate frontage under that A&R,
Right.
but 100 doesn't.
Right.
And when 100 bought, is 100 here?
Harry, do you
He's
have
here.
any other? do you have
Is
any
100
questions?
here?
He's here. Yep. He's in the back.
That the owner?
Yep.
I thought he was.
Yeah, when that gentleman bought it, he bought it knowing that he had frontage on what was called
Pondview Lane.
Pondview Lane. So he had frontage when he bought that, and I can't sign that away on him tonight. Sorry.
The board can't sign.
Well, I can't sign it, you guys can do whatever you wanna do, I can't.
The board can't.
Or
Tilly?
can, but
Well,
a lot of crazy things.
I came up with a different solution. And I didn't consider the way you're talking, and I wasn't involved with that other, that you mentioned by Phillips. But what I came up with is that if they withdraw the original application that shows the subdivision without prejudice, come in with a new plan, an A&R, that looks like this, then we can approve it based on the comment writing on the A&R that the original variance back in 67 still applies for that lot. Because variances last forever. They don't go away, they go with the land. So that was my thought. But I would really, did you check with town council at all on this?
No.
I think maybe that might be a solution, to find which way.
Okay. Do you, so
I-
what Tilly was talking about, Howard, is that,
Well, there's,
does that variant, could that variance go along?
it could go along, but it's subject to a 2005 finding that was recorded at the registry, and the language in that's a little confusing.
No, that isn't the one I'm talking about. but
I know it's
No, no,
not,
he-
but there's a 2005 that considers the 67. So you have the 67 variance, and then you have a finding in 2005, and
Can you talk to me a little bit more about that 205, because I don't have it. And
Can we put it up? Yeah,
you can
yeah.
put it up if you have it, and otherwise I still would like to just hear you talk to it a
the,
little
the
bit.
finding's very short, I can read it.
Okay.
The decision on variance application of Scott Green and Hillary Rogers, it's file 0509, this is October 2005. Based on the contents of the application and evidence presented by the petitioner and parties in interest in support and opposition of the petition to modify a variance, the board found that if the applicant is able to put the subject property, 100 and 102 Pond Street lots, back to the pre-67 conditions, one lot, one house, putting the land into conformity. Therefore, the variance stamped by the town clerk on May 8th, 1967 will no longer be in effect. Then the applicant may proceed to the appropriate town boards for any other project on said property. So, it's confusing.
It rescinds the 67
That's what
one.
it sounds like.
Yeah,
But
it
they-
rescinds the
they
67.
can't.
That's what it
Because
sounds
you
like.
can't modify, number one, modifying a variance is not in our bylaws anywhere. If it was, then you could do that step. But that was kind of creative on the zoning board, in my opinion.
Well, it was creative enough so that this board created a subdivision on the basis of that.
Well, we're not gonna be able to determine whether they can or can't right now,
Yeah.
based on that 205. So there's confusion there. I guess, was there anything else because I was gonna just say a few things.
No, and that would be the same for 100. When 100 was the original owner, right? So that 67 variance, he applied for, so that he could build in the adjoining properties
Mhm.
on number 102, okay? So he got a variance in 67, 10 feet on his lot, 10 feet on 102, with the condition he can only build one house
Right,
on 102,
right.
yeah.
Right.
So I thought then 100 would have to do the same process, file an A&R, and we could do the same thing for them as 102.
Okay.
But I don't know whether that's the best way or not.
It's one
I,
way.
I think it's a possible way, and I think the OSRD is also a possible way. I think the OSRD does raise a lot of questions for me, though, and they have to do with the unknowing of certain steps in the process of what that may create for these folks. I'm not sure about that.
Well, do you want me to answer, or should I wait
If you
till you're
can,
done?
yeah, sure.
To me, if the applicant, if 102 Pond Street file an OSRD, it will be more expeditious than having to go to the zoning board to get anything with relating to the finding or the variance. It's just before the planning board. And to file an OSRD, it's a public hearing notice, and then you have the meeting. It could be something that's accomplished by the board from today in 6 weeks.
Well, with me, you don't go back to the zoning board at all, in my opinion. There's no need to do it if you do the A&R process.
Okay.
So there's a
So-
toss up here.
So what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, what I'm hearing is that, in your opinion, the OSRD is the more efficient approach.
For the board to review, it's one permitting board as well as for the applicants.
Right.
So-
And I'm also hearing, Tilly, talking that perhaps this other way, that maybe you can't go back and deal with the variance that way, with the 205, and that maybe her approach is also viable. So I guess my question to the board is, it seems like there's two options. We could get, I suppose, an opinion from town council as to which way is the right way to do it, regardless of schedules. Or the board could take a vote as to recommending, I don't know if it's a vote or not,
Well,
making a recommendation.
Some of this came up with my discussions with the zoning code enforcement officer to help understand what the process may be. And so I got an email that's a quick read for the planning board members that may help, or
Could you read it into the record while we're looking at it too?
this is from John Mativier, dated today, August 27th, regarding 100 and 102 Pond Street. Howard, I reviewed the situation of returning the previously approved subdivision back into one lot. As you know, 100 and 102 Pond Street was originally subdivided with a ZBA frontage variance in 67. Should the applicant return the lot lines to the 1967 configuration and maintain the one house per lot condition from that variance, no further action would be required. The earlier variance would still be in effect. Planning board endorsement of the plan, although not required, is recommended. Should the applicant choose to draw new lot lines, if the planning board feels the new plan provides frontage adequate to serve each lot, a 30-foot minimum, and the lots have at least 1,500 square feet in area, a planning board endorsed plan is required. So, I believe the second paragraph is more relevant because they are drawing new lot lines. And through the
And
OSRD,
was he was aware of the 2005?
yes.
Okay. Okay. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Good, if- just note that Tim's here at this time. Well, so I guess that doesn't really, change what I said before. I think there's two directions we can take right now. Which is, you know, the board can amongst themselves take a vote as to which direction to recommend, or we could, ask for, town council's opinion to, which way is the correct way from their viewpoint of how to go about it. Regardless, again, of schedules.
It's my recommendation that the board just recommend to the applicant that they proceed with an OSRD, just to help expedite things, and because another 2 weeks, we get something from town council that then we need to.
Okay, appreciate that.
So we don't
That,
start.
so.
I just,
We don't start until that
I guess,
point, yeah.
I guess the only thing I just wanna caution about that is that I'm not 100% clear on the OSRD, what cans of worms it may open that no one is anticipating at this point in time, particularly the applicant. And I'm not aware of any, because this is all new.
I
haven't
can't foresee
looked.
anything with the OSRD. It's a lot line adjustment, which is a subdivision,
Yeah.
and this is, allows through a special permit from the planning board to grant the one known waiver, which is, from the required 160 feet to 150. And that way, we don't need to revisit any of the zoning board variances or have the applicant go back to the zoning board. It's, to me, straightforward, the 100 and 102, they make a joint application. And the other benefit, Rob, of the applicant, the two applicants making an OSRD, is that it will allow 100 Pond Street to remove easements placed on his property that were a result of the Pondview Estate subdivision, a drainage easement that isn't required anymore, sightline triangle that isn't required anymore. So that way, it's just cleans everything up.
Okay, I guess I'd like to, you know, Bob?
The only question I have is, I like the idea of recommending the OSRD. Would it still be wise to get legal counsel? Just to kind of verify that this is a good idea? Because I really don't want to hang these folks up. I mean, this is something I want to expedite, and that's why I like the OSRD.
And that's, I guess that's why I just say, every time I said what I said, I had the caveat at the end, I said, you know, regardless of schedules. Because if the schedule of doing this is one of your primary factors, then there may or may not be any risk associated with the OSRD, and it's your fastest way. But there may be, and I honestly don't know at this point in time, because this is new to me tonight, so, Harry, thoughts?
With all due respect to the idea of drawing an A&R, my reading of that second finding from the board, that first, I don't feel as though this board could certainly write up an A&R that shows those lot lines, but I really think you folks are gonna have problems down the line if you were to apply for building permits, and I'm concerned about a sale after, the sale next. That's my concern. That's why I say OSRD, it's
You're pretty
locked
confident,
down.
you're very confident on the OSRD, it sounds like. 'Cause you've had time to think about this, it sounds like.
Yeah, I, this was the only thing I focused on this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything else, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
appreciate
this was
that
the
a
only,
lot.
because this is a stickler.
Well, I put a lot of.
These folks are in a
value that.
pickle, that guy's in a pickle,
Okay.
and this board can make a mess for him, easily. Make a
Alright.
mess for him.
Tilly?
Well, I really feel strongly that that's gonna open up more things than we don't even know. And
Bring it up.
I feel confident if town council looked it over, because we don't wanna see any other problems down the line. And it might come back, 100, 102 and 100 Pond Street, we have files like this, because things keep coming back to us. So that's what I'd like to once and for all make a clean decision,
Yeah,
Wrap it up in
And-
a bow
that's
and
where I'm going with this,
so we
Tilly.
don't see it again.
This is, yeah, that's
And,
where I'm
you
going.
know, I'm not sure about yours, and you know, I don't know which one is better.
Okay.
May I make a suggestion, if we are moving towards the let's ask town council questions route, that we begin the OSRD process with the application and move on that track while we're getting information from town council, so that,
Help them.
well, that way we're not doing this sequentially. And, you know, 2 weeks from now, we get the information back from town council, whatever they say, then we initiate a process. But we're gonna run this all parallel track.
But in any event, we're gonna need a withdrawal from this original application
Excellent
right
point.
now. You
Excellent
know,
point.
withdrawal without
A
prejudice.
little something in writing that says, we,
Second that motion.
can it, yeah.
Well, okay. So, I said that I was gonna go to the public, and I think there was some, sure, if you could say your name loud enough for the record and.
Certainly. I'm Reardon J. Dennis, and I live at number 8 Lake Avenue, Georgetown, Massachusetts, and I've lived there for 37 years. I've been very involved with this 102 Pond Street from when the Doles owned it, and I was involved with the sale to Gay Rickenbacker Kramer prior to her building the log cabin, and the history there is that it was always meant to be one lot, and only one lot. It is a beautiful piece of land. It's a very sensitive piece of land. It needs to be in its green environment. It has tremendous runoff from the hills directly down into the pond, across Jean Murray's property, and then into the pond via my property. And by leaving it in its natural state, it would be the best for everyone, not just the Roberts and the newlyweds over here. Congratulations, by the way, they were married last Sunday. But the whole neighborhood would benefit from this, your actions, and I thank you for taking in consideration to make this as painless and as quickly and as inexpensive as possible for the Roberts, because it's been going on for long enough, and lo and behold, somebody wants that to go back into its original state, and that's what we want to see. So we endorse the Roberts and the Kellamores in going back to the original plan, if that's what it can be. But I appreciate what the planning board is attempting to do, and as far as I'm concerned, I endorse these folks, and I think everyone else does as well.
Well done, Ray.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? Anything different? Or, I think I saw a lot of heads nodding to.
Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Alita Joyce. I'm 115 Pond across the street from the property. And one of the things that I really like about it is leaving the major piece of property. It will give a buffer to the Rod and Gun Club and their firing ranges. And a lot of people back when we were going through the condo period, when they were trying to build 57 condos on that piece of land, there were a lot of people that were pretty concerned about shells and guns and stuff being around kids that were going to be in the condos and in these the development areas. So that's another plus.
I guess I'd just like to ask Roberts if, do you have any preference? Right now, there seems to be, it's gonna come back to the board right now after this, but there seems to be track one, you know, get town council's opinion on the best way of the two to go about doing this, and at the same time start the OSRD process if that's possible. And then the other track is just to start this withdraw without prejudice, start the OSRD process. Do you, based on what you've heard tonight, have any feeling one way or the other?
I mean, me personally, I'm on the fence. I think really we just want the most efficient, quickest way.
Okay.
And obviously whatever works with 100, I mean, we consider what they would want as well. I think he would be losing a tiny portion of land on the back too, so I'm kind of on the fence. I like both of your suggestions. I think that was kind of a wild card at the end, but if it works, I guess it's just a time constraint. We really need to settle with the Conservation Commission, and we have to go before them, and so we kind of need your blessing before we can do those steps.
Or you can file with Concom.
We
while
can
this
file while it's
application's
happening, right?
made.
And they would need to see that, you know, eventually we go on record as one lot, but, yeah, I mean, would either one of the issues come up if we suddenly wanted to put you said another dwelling, like a garage, if we
You
wanted
get
to
it
put?
made, according to that plan, you got plenty of frontage. He can't.
Oh, he would have any issues if he wanted to add,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
okay.
why I won't sign it. I
It-
mean,
it-
that
with the-
A and R's cool, I mean, you're
Right.
good at that A and R.
Yeah.
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 With doing the OSRD and both having the 150-foot frontage through special permit approved by the planning board, if you want to put up a garage, it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
As long as it's not in the setbacks or.
You're both clean.
things like that.
You're both.
Yeah, I like the OSRD, really.
I wouldn't, I'd caution how you said that, it wouldn't be a problem in that it would be part of the approval process.
You would not, maybe what would be the right thing to say would be, you would not have any issues related to frontage
Right,
inadequacy.
right.
And this is, I don't mean to, my gut feeling is the OSRD is the approach to go with, but, it's exactly that potential can of worms, the unknowing of it right now. I haven't reviewed the OSRD bylaw, in, I don't know how many years. And you wanna put a garage, okay, where, what, it's a special permit restriction.
No, the garage wouldn't be part of the OSRD.
No.
He's talking in the future.
Well, he can't just come back and just put a garage up.
I'm just saying
He
15
can get a
years from
building
now or
permit for
something,
a
you know.
garage.
Of course
It
it
has to be
can.
on the plan.
No, it doesn't.
On the OSRD? Isn't that what the
OSRD only deals with the
Isn't
lots,
that
it
what
does
the
not deal with the
OSRD?
structures. We never deal with structures, we only deal with lots.
Okay.
That's all we deal with is lots. Anytime we move towards structures on this board, outside of site plan review, we're
And there was
reaching.
no, there was no coverage calculations or anything like that?
No, that's not dealt with, no impervious area and things like that.
And we plan on living in this property until we die, so this could be 60 years
Well,
and
you're gonna have to go to the
Right.
building inspector and he'll make a decision whether you have to go,
who knows
where
what
you
happens
have to
by
go
then.
and
right?
if you get it.
My questions
that
are coming
gentleman
from
may
a
want
place
to,
of
too.
trying to protect you.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're looking to-
Where it is.
All right, what I'd like, I guess what I'd like to do
I'll start
is,
at home,
is to see if the board wants to make a motion to recommend one of these approaches. One approach being withdraw without prejudice, OSRD. Another motion is Tilly's. So, you know, we can,
I would,
what? Go ahead.
I would caution the board from making a motion of which way the applicant should make a permit application to the board. They've heard the
It's a s-
conversation.
Okay.
And a motion, it's basically if you make a motion saying, come back and do this,
Well, I wasn't,
then,
okay.
so
It was, I
what you
guess,
should really just do is
Straw
have the
vote?
applicant say, we're withdrawing our A and R, the board accept it, and the applicant has the information on best how to proceed.
okay.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
fine. That's fine.
I'd be happy to, if it's up to you, if you folks are willing, I'd be happy to make a motion to accept the withdrawal of the A and R.
Sounds fine.
Sure, if they wanna do it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll
So there's a
second
motion on the
that.
table.
Yes.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.
As Howard said, you've heard what everybody's been saying, and the ball's in your court now.
We'll talk, and I'll go over the bylaws with you and give you the sections and talk to your engineer.
And FYI, I know one guy that'll make a motion to waive the fees.
I need these vouchers signed before.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Hostile towns right now.
You guys are pretty good coming out to support that.
Yeah, really.
Hey, you know something?
There are new neighbors.
You have some pretty nice neighbors. Great neighbor. I'm sorry, I didn't know we were in discussion. I'm sorry. I didn't know we were in discussion, I'm sorry.
If it's gonna help, certainly I can work with the applicant. The application. Track anything. So when they make applications, it's already done. Hearing process. Yeah, if, when you approve the OSRD, then it's.
And like you, I didn't look at it, this is new to me.
Bunch of craziness. Well, congratulations, you take
I
care.
didn't really review it, but what I do remember is that subdivision regulations have to follow the OSRD. It's not all by itself. You have to follow throughout that bylaw, these subdivision regs. And if you're planning on,
Unless we waive.
well, whatever, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess at this point, Tilly, I think we're all trying to do the same thing, which is to get it done right and
Yeah.
to help them and to expedite it. And I think with the ball in their court, they're going to come back, they're gonna be dealing with Howard. If this issue, people will go back and review OSRD. If we have more questions about OSRD at the next meeting when they come back, we can bring them up then, I would think. And if it's something that people are uncomfortable with, we can talk about them then, so they're not lost. But at this point, I don't think to go to town council, I'm just not clear on what to ask for town council, to be quite frank. So it's almost like.
We could state the issue and then ask him for recommendations.
Did we just lose somebody?
He just walked off. We just, we need,
No.
that's basically all that you can say to town council. You know, that there was two proposals and we don't know which one is the best one and we were looking for your recommendation. Which one is the better one and how to go about it and what we're gonna need.
And I understand Tilly's concern, but at the same time, we're getting legal advice that the applicant should be doing. Applicants should be deciding with their legal counsel
And that's-
the best way to apply for this.
I would agree with that, but for that second application and approval and finding from the second request, the 2005, with the zoning board, well, quite frankly, I'd like town council just to look at that, because I don't see
What-
I think that's creative,
I
but
guess.
that's just my opinion.
Okay, I guess what I'd like to do is, that could be, an item to discuss either with members or public report later, because I want to move on to the next
Sure.
applicant.
I just thought by, getting in touch with town council as quickly as possible, because they will take 2 weeks.
Okay, so, we're gonna go from the A and R now, and if it's okay with the board, I'd like to skip over member or public reports section and go to old business. And I would also like to, if it's okay with the board, go first to Turning Leaf. I think there's more substantive discussion than 1719. So if the board's okay with that, I'd like to go to Greenleaf. Okay. So, if Turning Leaf, if Turning Leaf would come
Provided in the packet
front.
for this meeting is the revised Turning Leaf decision. And the revisions that were made at the first meeting, at the previous meeting of the planning board, where we went over the draft, are picked up in this revised decision. And you'll notice in the gray columns is who made the comments, and it's just noted and cross out. The only aspect of the decision that was not addressed at the last meeting, and it was all agreed upon that we would wait for tonight's meeting just to discuss the inclusionary housing component.
Starting on page 4?
Yep.
Is there an opportunity for me to comment on the decision in addition to the inclusionary housing?
Right, if you want to take that first, that's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
And I can make the comments, or write down the comments here.
Okay. So with regards to the notice of decision and the, does anybody else have any other comments with regards to it as written? I have just a couple, and I wasn't here at the last meeting, so that's why I'm coming at this
I
point.
have a few,
You do? Okay.
some questions, some, like, you're talking about the actual subdivision approval, all of the conditions of that,
Yes,
short of the inclusionary housing, right? We weren't
Yes.
gonna talk about that.
yes, yep.
Okay. So, do you want me to start?
Yeah, sure.
So on G, when it talks about providing an off-street,
What page?
page 6. It talks about the developer providing an off-street parking area. Is there any, like, did we ask for a particular number, like a size of the off-street parking area?
As shown on the plan, I believe there's 3, right? With room for 2 more.
Okay. All right, then skip down to I, and,
Do you want to just add in a parking area where you say 3 spaces or something?
well, it kind of should be spelled out there. I mean, it's in the decision, right? If that's what the plan says, that's what this should say.
Okay.
I'm not sure I understand what 2 spaces of on-street parking area shall be land banked in the case future demand. But
I asked that very question myself at the last.
I just don't know what it means, but it's fine.
So-
I mean, I guess.
It was that the applicant is installing 3 spaces with room in the right-of-way of the Lisa Lane
To add 2 more.
to add 2 more in the future, and add, though, if those 3 spaces become inadequate for the use of people accessing parcel F, then the town of Georgetown can go back in and take out the dirt and pave in 2 additional spaces and still be in the right-of-way.
So the developer doesn't have to do it, but just provides that
He's just
land in
setting
the
aside the
event
area
that the
for the
town
future.
wants to
And,
do it.
and that's on the plan.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Oh, it is. And it was actually also because of handicapped accessibility, because that area is not handicapped accessible,
Okay.
the way it's designed, and if it changes in the future and is able to be for that path. That's why I think that was actually, Harry had said you need to do something, but we couldn't, and then I think Rob said you really can't because you're gonna create handicapped spaces with nowhere to go. So that's why we land bank them if that path were ever to become handicapped accessible.
Okay, then if we drop down to I, same page, and it talks about the no-cut area along the exterior boundary of the subdivision, is that the only place that we wanted a no-cut zone?
That's all I remember.
I believe that
Because I thought there was like from neighbors,
that's where they're shown.
That's the perimeter.
I believe they're all identified on the plan.
They're clear, like, right in the
Okay.
background, you can see all of the, buffer areas set out.
okay,
They're shown on the overall plan, as well as
And you can see the little.
no-cut.
I wasn't clever enough to save the plan, so.
It's all right, they've been changed anyway, haven't they? Do we have a final set of plans?
It's,
Okay, and
Well,
then
you haven't.
Time out, let's just stay, I wanna stay with this.
in J,
Stop bouncing
we're
around.
talking about cutting back the intersection of Marlboro and Tenny, cutting back that banking on the left-hand side along Tenny Street as you're exiting to Tenny Street. And it says essentially that they're gonna cut back by 40 feet, approximately 40 feet at the intersection of Tenny and Marlboro to the extent that the visual impediments lie within the town's right-of-way by cutting back the bank and relocating the existing sign for westbound traffic on Tenny. My only comment on is that if you cut that banking back any more than it is, this tree's gonna come down too, because it's like right on the edge, I think.
We actually had shown you and included, how we were gonna do that, remember that from the traffic report?
But I
So,
never saw any mention of trees.
It does, we just say we're gonna put up a, wasn't there a wall? We have a
I mean, you
design.
can look when you drive by there, it looks, you're the tree guy. It looks to me
There
like
is a
if you
sketch
cut
that's
that banking
included.
back, yeah, trees are gonna
What's that?
There
fall
is a
down.
sketch included in the plan.
There is, and that's what that was written off.
So
I
what I
was-
hear, Howard, Tim talking about though is, that there are trees associated with this cutting back.
And as you cut the banking back, you're the one that says that when you compromise a
Yeah, yeah.
tree's
Yeah,
root
yeah.
system, that it might not fall down tomorrow, but it will fall down sooner or later. And
So,
that's all.
so somehow there would need to be something in there to ensure that,
We're not
you know-
compromising the health of trees and cutting back the banking.
or if we do, they have to be addressed immediately and not just left to fall on their own
Yeah.
kind of thing for
Yeah.
safety. I
Okay.
think the sight distance will take precedent over saving the trees, as much as I love the trees.
Right, I'm just saying, but you're always concerned that if you just cut up too close to a tree and you
Yep.
don't take it down,
Yep, something will happen
you
over
really
time.
need to do it at that point that you
Yeah.
cut it back.
And maybe they can just
Well-
move the tree.
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
move
There's
it
some
back
big
10
trees
feet.
there.
It's
Yeah.
not your property, that's the problem, it's
Yeah.
like, guys, you know?
Yeah, I know, it looks like a dicey situation. I wonder how
The
the
tree is
homeowner's
not on
gonna
the
like
property?
that.
I don't know exactly what tree's
Can
speaking
you-
of, but I do know 10 feet back.
Wait,
It's
I
not-
don't know
it's
if
not
it's
your
on the
property.
plan.
The area they're talking about?
I don't have a survey plan showing where the trees are.
Okay, can you just show the area though, back on the plan you had before?
It's not on.
That's
the-
been,
It's not on- it's not
that
on
banking's
plan.
been hacked at before.
I can say one thing if I may. I'm pretty sure that the highway surveyor's not gonna just let you go out there willy-nilly and
That's
start creating this 40-foot site
Oh,
enhancement.
no, we're gonna
So,
do, we're
the
gonna work
lucky
hand in
thing
hand.
to that is that the highway surveyor also happens to be the tree warden in the town. And, he's gonna be right there, I'm sure.
Right, because this is an off-site improvement, so this
Yeah,
is
this
not
is
our
on
property.
Tenny and
So
Monroe.
before work gets done, we're gonna coordinate with your superintendent.
He'll be there.
And we'll make sure that it's done in a safe and proper manner. I mean, and he will too, to Harry's point. So, I mean,
Okay.
the decision would absolutely could and should probably reflect that we're gonna work hand in hand with the town when we do that.
Okay. I'm just wondering, could somebody, I don't know who owns that land and whose trees
I'm
those are?
not certain either, I just know it's a private citizen.
Right, and at some point, I mean, it really isn't gonna like provide a loss of privacy to them because they're up over like the top of the hill and set back, so those trees aren't really providing them any privacy or not much. But it just, I noticed when I drove by that it looks like if you cut much at all away of that banking, there's gonna be some trees that are gonna, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No.
Just saying it's a thing.
I think your point's well taken. I'm not as comfortable as Harry with just, saying, you know, we'll work closely with the town or, you know, another department will take care of it.
That's why I was suggesting you're sort of the tree guy, maybe you could see what you think of it.
Well,
Or not,
I think,
I don't know.
I don't have any problem with the town, with the highway surveyor addressing it, but then I wanna see it written into it. That right now, it's just us and words floating in space, and I'd like to see then perhaps something added to that.
Any suggested language?
Well, like trees to be removed as,
Trees
any
to-
trees to be compromised health-wise, I don't know how you'd phrase it, but they've already
Tree-
hacked that bank a
tree-
few
trees
years
to
ago.
Trees to remain shall be reviewed by highway surveyor for determination of
Health and safety.
health, safety, welfare.
Okay,
Like that?
yeah,
And then I think what happens is he hires an arborist to do stuff like that.
they're not like huge caliber trees, but they're
Yeah.
tall.
Yeah, okay.
Gotta keep an eye
Does
on
that
it.
make sense, Harry?
Yes.
Okay.
on to N, developer to modify the existing stone wall, I think, what was that, was that gonna be cut down to 1 foot height or something?
Yes.
Yeah,
I might add the 1 foot height, I know it's on the
we
plan.
have it all in the plans too.
As long as we're adding things to
Because
the
I
plan.
think it might be variable. I don't know that you really should, isn't it variable a little bit? I don't think you should actually do that because it is going, it might be, 8 inches in one place, it might be 16 inches in
Okay.
another. Just because if you say in accordance with the plan, then you're better covered.
I just thought I remembered hearing talk at one of the
It's about a
meetings
foot.
that there was,
It's about a foot.
yeah, so I could
But
say
it's
a foot
defined on
plus
the
or
plan.
minus
Yeah,
6
and
inches.
I just don't want you to put something in that isn't gonna be accurate. That's why I figure if you refer to the plans, you might be better, but it is approximately a foot.
All right, then I have a comment on page 7. I guess it's S, line S. Street trees to be installed per the approved plan shall be warranted for a period of 1 year after acceptance of the ways by town residents at town meeting. That's awesome. That's really good, that it's a year after the,
Are you looking at the draft or the revised?
Yeah, I think he's I
Because-
think you're in the old draft. Tim.
Acceptance of the ways by
Yeah.
town residents at town meeting was removed, and instead it's 1 year after installation.
okay, that's, because that's what I thought I heard in the meeting, and when I saw this, I was like, sounds like a positive.
What happens, Howard, if trees are installed early? A lot of times, people will come in when construction's still got a long way to go, and they'll be scrambling to meet certain deadlines, and they'll get trees put in when they shouldn't get put in. And if the guarantee begins from that point, and there's still a lot of construction going on, that impacts the chances of the tree survival significantly. Typically, you don't start a guarantee period on plants until they're accepted by somebody. So, what's the first acceptance of the subdivision? Who's the first? When does the first acceptance happen?
Well, the site inspecting engineer would accept the street at binder course or something like
Okay.
that, and that may be,
And
they're putting the whole road in, the binders in, that's when the trees go in, because
okay, so I just would say that, substantial completion of construction needs to have taken place.
Right.
And that there needs to be an acceptance of the trees. And that's when the 1 year period begins.
Okay.
So street trees to be installed per the approved plans and shall be warranted for a period of 1 year after acceptance
By
by the
site inspecting engineer.
site inspection engineer after substantial project completion.
Substantial
Project
roadway
completion.
Roadway completion.
Is that binder coat or is that finish course?
Substantial completion is a subjective term, you can spell it out if you want.
Well, that's where I don't like fudge. What are we talking about? Where do we want it? I mean,
Okay.
let's specify where we want it, let's not be,
Well, I take out substantial and just say after roadway completion to binder course.
Perfect.
okay, if that's what you're looking for, let's specify that, please.
And that should really be a standard condition in future subdivisions.
Well, I think the board going through this is gonna have a good updated
Yeah.
definitive subdivision to work on.
Okay. Do you have any others?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. The only,
Quick question on that.
Rob, you,
I just-
I
yeah.
provided it separately
Can I ask
too.
a question?
Okay.
Are we now requiring all of the trees to be in? Before the,
that's,
when binder coat is in, all of the trees need to be in?
no, but they can't be, they can't be put in well before that.
Oh, okay, so what if they aren't installed at all until a year later?
Then they don't get accepted until they're installed a year later.
And then it's a
Can I-
year from that.
Huh?
Oh,
And then it would
can I
be a
hear how
year
that
from
wording is?
that point.
Correct.
But maybe I'm not hearing how that
No, it's a
wording
good
actually
question.
is.
It's a good question.
Street trees to be installed per the approved plans and shall be warranted for a period of 1 year after acceptance by the site inspecting engineer after roadway completion to binder course.
Or upon installation thereafter. And then that
What does our
covers
reg say
installations
about the
later.
street trees? Doesn't?
It's silent on street trees.
It's always kind of hard to define when you start that year clock.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. In the industry, it really isn't. So there's, does that do it for you?
I guess I have to see it in writing. We'll find out a year after the bind goes down. I think it works.
The only thing I had, Howard, was just, there were a number of revisions that we talked about, part of the drawings, planting details, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And the drawings were gonna be revised. We haven't received the drawings yet, is that correct?
I don't have a final revised set of drawings.
And so that will happen. We'll get a final revised set, and all of those items are gonna be checked off on, and that's,
Right, compared against this, and then it'll be in sync.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the applicant when those plans are coming in?
Howard, I believe
We have
Shelby
to-
dropped off 2 complete sets of final drawings for you.
Shelby, it very may well be, I can't remember, so it may be sitting on a pile, but I don't recall them
It's
being
been a
in
couple
there.
of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, I made her wait because no one was around Monday for you to, and she came in on a Tuesday morning.
Okay, so
Drop them
I'll
off
look in
here.
the office, if the plans are there, or set, and I'll just,
okay.
And there
Compare
are,
against the
there's an
decisions.
electronic version too, if you wanted to send them out, that shows those
Okay.
particulars, it's just the final Mylar hasn't been created like that, just in case you had additional changes, cause the Mylar is a different set. You know, just have to put, it's just a pain in the neck to create Mylars, so that's the only reason, but you have the paper.
We're
Okay,
basically
so-
on August 12th.
Yeah, I have it right here.
so my oversight, my apologies
That's
then.
okay.
How,
We have
were
the
they,
e-version
were they,
yet?
were they left there with no one in the office?
Since
No,
all
I-
set,
I-
I handed them to Howard.
Could have very well have got it in my hand and signed for it, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I don't remember, so that's why I'm apologetic.
That's okay.
No, it's not an issue.
It happens.
I know they were sent.
I just wanna make sure you didn't try paper.
Okay. So that was it on the conditions. And then we were gonna go to the affordable housing component.
Great idea.
And,
That's like page 4 or something, isn't it?
Page 4.
Oh,
Now,
so
the,
review,
the board needs to recall that provided in the packet of the August 13th meeting, in supplemental, there was some information regarding the inclusionary housing.
I think this came today. Is that what, I think that's
This the same as the 13th,
Right, but this hasn't.
what you put in here?
Yes, yes, but there is information provided to the
same
the
thing.
board
But
regarding findings of the task force and some other information.
No, it's not.
Mr. Chairman, at the risk of not reading the primary source
no,
stuff,
it's
can we
okay,
ask
this
Howard
will kind
for
of, kind of buy that
a
now.
summarization of what the task force and the trust are
Well, the
most in
task
favor
force
of?
is here, so they can come up and give specifics.
well, with regards to the affordable housing, and talking to the board right now, so this is, the public hearing's closed.
Yeah.
And this is,
Yeah.
this is a discussion, the applicant's here to answer questions. Amongst the board, we had a response from town council. And we have Howard's comments in his section of, comments per each project, as he typically puts forth. And I guess I wanted to ask the board, each member, if they were prepared to comment on if they had questions or opinions about what town council has said, and what they think, based on that, is what we need to be doing on this affordable housing issue. How we're gonna do it, whether it's 7 houses, 20, the whole issue. And so, I'm only looking at you, Tilly, to start the discussion, because I think you raised a great question, and I think what we got from town council was really helpful. It was very helpful to me. So, did you folks get to see
Town council?
an email from town council? They should have a copy. So, maybe before I do this, to help, Howard, could you do an update of the affordable housing in your summary, your components? You would sort of,
Well, issued to the board under correspondence was the understanding of town council regarding the inclusionary housing bylaw and the ability or inability thereof to address undeveloped lots. And because the bylaw doesn't specifically address undeveloped lots, then he came up with the bylaw's intent when it can consider the in lieu of payment on an undeveloped lot. And it's basically that undeveloped lot is sold at 6%, and then when a valuation is placed on the property as developed, that delta between the value of undeveloped and developed of 6%, it needs to come from the originating developer as well.
so basically, tell me if I'm misstating anything, the town council, town council has said that they see no planning board authority to determine how many undeveloped lots versus developed lots can be made as part of this arrangement, the planning board.
In respect to the inclusionary housing bylaw.
Right. The authority, though, for final determination of this resides with the permitting authority, which is the planning board.
Yes.
And the town council was suggesting two options for how to do this, which was, one is, in selling the undeveloped lots, there would be 6% of the undeveloped lot when it was sold, and then another 6% of whatever the improvement value to that lot was. So when the house goes on, whatever the value of the house and those improvements are, there would be another 6%. Town council said that worked, that approach worked.
Right.
And was consistent.
But 6% coming from the originating developer, not the
developer.
person that built the house.
Correct. And the other option was the bylaw, which is you build 2 on site.
Right, that's clearly lined out in the bylaw, as well as the partial payments.
So, did that make sense, that summary of
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Okay, so, so I guess with that, Tilly, questions, statements, whatever about it.
Well, I think that my summary of this would be that the purpose of the bylaw is to get 2 units. No matter how anything else works out, for 22 house lots on a subdivision, we need 2 units and a fractional payment for 0.2. Okay? And what discretionary power the board has is when you want that fractional payment and how you want to receive, when you want to receive the payment on the lot and the house on the lot. That's basically what we have. And we are to get advice from the Housing Task Force and the trust and whatever, which we already got, which said they want money. They would prefer receiving the money rather than building it in the subdivision. So that was basically their decision and their advice to us. And,
In discussions with the task force and the trust, they saw it as beneficial that the in lieu of payments come at each transaction. Just to help clarify how the board may proceed with understanding how the funds were gonna be received,
Mhm.
as opposed to at the end of the project or upfront.
yeah.
Okay.
So, does that
Yeah.
help?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Tim, any comments or questions about?
Well, are we discussing whether or not we would change the agreement we already have?
Well, I don't think we
don't have any
an
agreement.
We don't have any agreement in place, I just have the structure for it, and it needs to be,
This was the last major piece.
The
Because
part-
it seems to me like it'll cost them more money if we do it with the 6% of the lot and then 6% in addition when the house is built.
It will.
The town will end up with more money that way.
The town will end up, though, with what the money should be in association with the value of the unit.
as
And
if.
that's what the town council was pretty clear in saying that unit means, I think they were pretty clear where they say unit, there's an argument to be made where unit equals the lot plus the house in its development. The unit does not equal just a lot.
Right, but I think at the time, as I recall, the developer was concerned that how does he hold the people's feet to the fire to pay the 6% when the house is built? And how do you, if the
It's-
guy builds his own house and says it cost me $500 to build the house, is that what it is? Or is it an
that's a
appraised
legitimate-
value?
That's a legitimate concern.
Those are all issues.
And that's where it starts just coming back to 2 lots, 2 units on site, because those are good issues.
You read the bylaw, it spells out what you're asking. And, you can do it by, at the time of sale, before the occupancy permit, and that's basically spelled out here. The part that, I was surprised at for security is that town council saying that a covenant or a bond will not work. And therefore, I'm totally in the dark about mortgages.
Well, I think.
Cashes.
Yeah, I read this, that about town mortgage.
Well, I think, I
didn't fully comprehend
I
that,
think we
but-
need to let town council work out the mechanism for the security.
Right,
I'm not,
right.
they-
I think you're right, because I can't.
Howard, that was a good question. Anything else on that?
To address Tim's concern, one way to establish if a homeowner buys a lot, builds their own home, they need to get a CO to move in. At the time of the CO, the appraiser can come in and add a valuation of the property,
So who's gonna do the appraisal?
the town's assessor.
Based
Because
on
an
the
assessment's not the same as an appraisal.
The assessor.
They're different.
Assessor's own.
I spoke with him, and he said that he appraises it based on the market price, whatever it was told for. He says roughly within 10%, he says, that's our assessed value.
That's what Jay said?
Yeah,
Well, the assessed value is based on comparables, not what
well, that's his
Yeah, it
very
doesn't-
words, so I didn't go into
Yeah,
comparables.
I don't know, if that's what they do, fine, but
But
I
in
don't.
it, so, okay. It is more confusing and more complicated to go the route of 6% now, 6% later. No question about it.
I mean, at the end of the day, the town's gonna get more money, the developer's not gonna have to pay any more money, but you weren't keen on it because, like, the buyers aren't gonna wanna, like, how do they know what that
That's why we
6%?
were willing, that's why we were willing to keep it at 7. And then if we sold anything over 7,
But
then
he,
we would recommend
And
the
you
assessed
understand that town council is telling us we don't have that authorization to be playing 7 or 8 or whatever.
Well, he's saying to you that he's interpreting for you what a unit is. You have the right to interpret it as however this board sees fit.
For sure.
And that was the point to
For
Tilly.
sure. Well,
So-
we're not gonna
Yeah.
we're not gonna disagree with the town council.
Right, no, but he's not, he specifically said, you can go either way. And then he said, I could see more of an
Sometimes-
argument to go for unit, but he absolutely said you can go either way. So that's your decision though, never
When I
town
read
council.
that, I don't wanna argue with you.
The first line.
No, I read the first line,
Rob,
believe me, I read it.
it's
I don't
really
know.
asking, the applicants are here to answer questions.
Thank you,
of
thank
it,
you,
that's all.
thank you.
So, and just, not
Yeah.
to sound like a game of Jeopardy, but please phrase it in the form of a question.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate
May
it.
I get back to you? In the developer, when they speak of developer in this bylaw, they're talking about the one that has the name on the subdivision. He is the developer. So if they sell a lot and the homeowner builds there, the developer of the subdivision still is responsible for meeting the obligation of the affordable provision.
Right, and he didn't wanna do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's probably, that may be. That's
But
not
that's the
necessarily a good
bylaw.
reason not to do it, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so my memory was that he was saying, well, then I'll just build the two
Yeah.
houses.
I mean, that may be where this ends up,
And he still can
but
do
any.
it.
But
okay.
that doesn't make
But-
them happy.
Well, we're trying to make it work.
So are we bound by what town council said? Can we no longer go with the plan that we already had with them? I mean,
I would not go against, we're not bound by town council, but I would not go against what I think he said very clearly in there, which was he sees no authorization for the planning board to be determining 7 or 8 or whatever, that we
How
don't
about-
have that
how about the
authorization.
Affordable Housing Task Force?
It's the final,
They
It
The
falls
the
with the-
bylaw doesn't allow you to state a certain amount of undeveloped lots. The bylaw doesn't address anything about undeveloped lots.
Right, and if we were to go beyond that bylaw, then the only thing that we check, that would be a check to that overreaching, would be an appeal to the decision.
I mean, I'm of the attitude that, you know, that it's not a perfect solution, but it's a solution that will stand up in terms of, you know, 2 units on site, and that we get our act together to get this ordinance. It's not gonna have
Straight
a
up.
special town meeting, but for, you know, that we get our act together on this one and write it the way it needs to be written.
But that doesn't make anybody happy. It doesn't make them happy, it doesn't make the Affordable Housing Task Force happy.
But it's doable, it's consistent with the bylaw, it's us doing our job. I mean, I don't know how, Tim, you're gonna do the other one where you do this 6% and 6%, it just opens up all these,
Oh, I understand, you mean the 6% of the lot, and then
Yeah.
the 6%, I understand that. So I'm just saying, but that wasn't our agreement, we just had 6% period with a limit of 7 to be sold as
well, we
lots.
didn't, I'm not sure, so we didn't make any agreement, we're not changing any agreement with the applicant about this.
Okay, I thought we did, but okay.
Well,
We're writing the conditions right now,
Yeah,
so.
this is yet to be voted on. You're just writing, like you said, we're composing the agreement right now. We didn't vote
The
on
decision.
anything.
My
The
understanding.
decision.
I mean, correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong,
it's
Howard,
decision.
my understanding was that this was the last outstanding issue,
Correct.
Hmm.
For the decision.
right? Right,
And-
would the applicant agree with that? That this was the outstanding issue we were here for tonight?
Oh, certainly, yes.
Okay. Bob, did anything in particular, or
No, I don't see, I don't know how this is gonna work.
Harry? What do you think, Bob?
I've come full circle. I walked into this thinking that the best thing that we could do for the town, was to create 2 units. Force you to do 2 units on site with a fractional payment at some point in the development. then I started hearing from the task force and the trust, and then town council, and then lots of other issues. And thinking about it myself after reading town council's opinion and everything, and recognizing that as a developer, you'd be selling some lots, which evidently, according to everybody, says we can't determine how many there are that you sell.
Town council's saying that.
Yeah, but an opinion, a legal opinion. You'd somehow sell a lot, pay 6% on the lot sale, and then somehow be on the hook for whatever value is added to that parcel by the person that bought the lot.
Yeah, that,
It seems kind of open-ended to me.
yeah, the devil's in
I
the
build a
details.
mansion on a lot that I buy from you, and you get jammed for the extra 6%, which is interesting. But, again, to keep it brief, I know it's getting late. I've come full circle. I'm gonna go with, what I thought before. The best thing for the town is you build two. I will be voting for or recommending, or whatever the terminology is. The one thing that is very, very clear in the bylaw, we have the authority to do, the 2 units on site with a partial payment. And I'm done with it.
I would agree, that that's where I'll come to with this.
But you don't get the vote.
I don't get to vote, but I'll come to. So,
Yeah.
You get the check.
I'm satisfied with that, you know, I was hoping that the task force and the trust could come to a resolution together, but if that's what the developer is pleased with, I think we'll do it. I think
I'll be
as
honest
long as
with
we
you.
get 2 units,
Yeah, I just,
the thing is what I did, you know, doing some research. You know, you get the postcards of how many houses were sold and whatnot. In a month, I think is the card, and it's delivered at home. And I took a 4-bedroom house, which was fairly newer homes, a 4-bedroom that were sold, and it was like 6 or 7 of them, and I averaged it out, and they came to roughly, as an average, $650,000. So if we had to receive the money, the town received the money, we would be spending at least $650,000 to buy a 4-bedroom home. So, you know, if we only considered lots, we wouldn't be able to buy another home. We'd only be lucky to get one. You know, and that clearly to me is the bylaw strictly says 10%. And that's two units, plus the 0.2% for the fractional payment.
I just want to add to something Tilly said. The task force and the trust both thought it was best for in lieu of payments to be accepted so they could further the goals of the HPP. And I provided to the planning board the motion that the task force made, and the motion that was voted on by the trust. So they came to an agreement, but what ended up being the difficult part is now the planning board needs to find out the mechanism in the bylaw of how they can accomplish the 6% on the undeveloped lots, and it's just not in the bylaw.
not there. Needs work. Needs work. And there's
did-
lots of stuff we need to work on.
I did want to give you, can they?
You can ask questions of them to clarify
All right, so.
their motion, and you can do the same with asking questions to clarify of the applicant.
um,
Which is reasonable. You just can't take in new testimony, you're just asking for clarification
Right.
of the
I'm not
motion
sure what the question would be.
by asking questions.
I guess I just do want to give you an opportunity, you know, while you're here, and I guess the question I'd ask to you folks, you know, no, never mind, I'm gonna take that one. All right, so, do we need to make a motion on this?
We need to
On
direct
what we're
Howard
recommending?
as to
We've
what our
we've got,
language will look like.
yeah, we need to go through this.
I wrote up some for, since I got the town council. Did you write up any more current than after this town council?
No.
So you're working on the old?
No, I issued a draft to the board.
Yeah,
It wasn't discussed at the last meeting. I didn't get comments from anybody.
right.
The town councils. So what is written here
I
is the
didn't
same
get-
as the draft.
Oh, okay,
The,
yeah.
the revised decision was issued in your packet separately. So you'd be able to have it detached.
I didn't get that.
Well,
Because I'm using my old one, because you said it was the same. I didn't get it in a separate.
Do you wanna look at mine, Tilly? I don't know.
So, part 4 conditions, the planning board finds the Turning Leaf definitive subdivision plan complies with the standards requirements, subdivision approval, subject to the following requirements, and item number 1 is inclusionary housing component. And the first is just a statement to clarify. Per Town of Georgetown bylaw, at least 10% of new housing units in any residential development shall fulfill the requirements of the bylaw section and provide affordable housing units or housing contribution payments. The Turning Leaf development consists of 22 residential lots, and therefore the affordable housing contribution shall be 2.2 housing units, parentheses, 2 whole units and 2 fractional units. Parties hereby agree to the affordable housing requirement or the Turning Leaf definitive subdivision development shall be satisfied as follows.
Howard, since this is the first time we're touching this, with all due respect to everyone, this is a decision issued by the planning board, solely by the planning board. I don't know what parties we're referring to here. Agreeing to a requirement, what
Okay.
parties are this is how it shall be. It's how we've always issued decisions. If decisions aren't agreeable, there are
Okay.
steps to take.
So parties hereby agree to the can be removed. So the last sentence is the affordable housing requirements for the Turning Leaf definitive subdivision development shall be satisfied as follows.
I think that sounds right.
That sounds right. Section of 2 on-site affordable homes, yeah. Okay.
So, item A is by the construction of 2 on-site affordable homes and the payment of a fractional payment in accordance with subsection and F below. Or, so we can remove or.
And put and.
And put it and. And so what I wrote into the draft decision of B, C, and D, I believe the planning board is removing because they're
Mhm.
not going to be considering in lieu of payments.
Mm-hmm.
That would be correct. As well as item E.
Oh, are we gonna vote for
as
that
well-
or not?
I just-
Are we gonna discuss that? I mean, I think Harry is the only one that really,
I just think it stinks that nobody was happy with this solution. I mean, the Affordable Housing Task Force, I don't think is particularly thrilled with it. The developer isn't.
well,
Can we assign like a value to a house of $650 or something? There's gotta be some way to make, there's
The
gotta be
bylaw
a,
doesn't allow the planning board to say, this is the value of each lot.
We've got to fix the bylaw.
well, but who, so what would happen? I mean, if you have an agreement and all parties agree to the agreement, if the Affordable Housing Task Force is happy,
Well, we're
The
not in a public
developers-
hearing anymore.
well, they're here, you said we could ask.
When
them.
last-
You can ask questions.
We could
but
ask
when
them.
last we spoke, we were gonna go with the in lieu of payments. So we're already bringing in new information and stuff now.
And we're also now doing town mortgages?
You did that with Harris Way. You didn't like it?
That was a side agreement.
I just don't wanna feel like we're harangued into doing something that nobody wants done.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be happy here? Anybody?
Well, my
Lawyers?
I guess my attitude about that, Tim, is that, you know, you follow the ordinance as written, and if there's room for interpretation, you get town council's opinion. And then, if you follow that, and if you don't like it, you change the ordinance. And I agree with you, it's not a perfect solution by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not even close, it's a terrible solution.
There's two possibilities that can come out of the bylaw. And one is the application of two units being built on Turning. And it's been,
Which nobody
it's
wants.
been written out how the bylaw can be used for in lieu of payments on undeveloped lots. And if you wanna find out, you can ask a question of the applicants in the audience, and you can ask a question to help in your decision if which way you'd wanna go.
So I can ask the developer if he would be happy with assigning a value of $650 to a lot in a house?
If you wanted to ask me a question, you
Well-
can ask me a question about what the bylaw says as far as the contribution payments, and I may be able to help you.
Okay.
I'm
asking the question.
appreciate that.
No, we don't.
I just, he's asking a question, and it's,
understand.
if you read the bylaw, it specifically says the average
It
market
doesn't look
sales
good,
price.
it doesn't look good.
Yeah, but this is,
To who?
To us.
To people who are out there looking and watching the public we represent. That's all I'm talking about. But anyways, so
It doesn't
you
look
have-
good to come
you
up with
have-
a solution that
I'm not
everybody
talking, I'm not
wins?
saying what, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about suggestions that were coming from the applicant.
Oh,
And
okay,
that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what you were saying.
okay.
So if you have some questions, you can ask them about the 6% issue if you wanna do that.
The in lieu of payment of 6%, there's a formula in there for the average market price. Now, the problem is that they sell 3 undeveloped lots, you don't know what the average market price is yet, right? Because you don't have any housing sales. So the decision can be written
Well, then
in.
we say after six houses have been built, that would then be determined.
The average market sale price for the undeveloped lots that were
Would be
first sold.
determined by the first 6 that were sold and built. I know we have to wait for the money that way, but, I mean,
Well, can you explain to me why you want to do it like that instead of as each lot is sold? And
Well-
calculate per sale market price?
well, I'd rather do it that way and assign just a
Alright,
But there's
value
no
of
established market price for an
650,000.
undeveloped lot if it's the first lot sold.
No, but I mean, we could
That's it.
say,
Whatever's sold is the market price.
An undeveloped lot sells
Yes.
for 200, that's the market price, and that's what
Yeah.
we take 6% off of.
Right,
Then
right.
it's-
Whatever it's sold for. I think that's the fairest way. Whatever is sold, that's the 6%. If the house is sold for X amount, you put 6% on that. And if you do it as you go along, then you don't have to worry about 3 or 6 or whatever for an average.
I'm with you on the, you know, you do it as you go along, but if you do it, 6% is of just the undeveloped lot, that's not getting the town the money that is what a unit represents. And that
but
lot.
then that would be coming
Well, the way-
forthcoming when the house,
Well, you can ask them if they would be,
I-
ask the applicant if they would be interested in that approach.
Well, the way last
Would you?
paragraph there, the last
I
sentence.
didn't even understand the question, I apologize.
well, essentially, I guess the question is, would you guys be interested in, when you sold a lot, if we established an average value of what a 4-bedroom houses are currently selling for, at say 600 or 650 or whatever they're selling
And I
for
think
it?
that's what your bylaw says, so yes.
You-
That's exactly what, yes, that's what your bylaw says.
And so would you be interested in going that route? as opposed to just paying the 6% for the lot. You would then also assume the liability of paying the 6%. You would essentially have to pay that 6% for whoever bought it, but you would just charge them that much more for the lot, if you could.
Upon the, and the way it would be done would be upon the sale, like it says.
Right.
And what it would be an average sales price.
I mean, I just want to see you happy, and I want to see them happy. And no one's happy the way with building 2 units in there.
Well, I disagree.
And I guess our hands are tied.
I,
So how about a cap of 650?
well, this is a whole nother discussion, you know, if that's the right number.
Well, I'd rather have
I
that
don't
discussion than keep going down this road with building units in there,
Well,
speaking for myself.
yeah, well, what time is it, 9 o'clock?
20 of 9.
29 is fast.
I mean, you gotta figure too, if we were to build, like if they were to build a house on site, it's not gonna have granite countertops and all kinds of other
No, no,
fancy
I
stuff that would then put it up into the 700s or even, you know, maybe we say 600, I don't know. You know, what would a unit that they'd be responsible to build in there sell for? At market value instead of at a reduced value, 550, 600. Something they would build, not something they would build and sell for 750 or 800, but what would they be required to build? What would it cost?
As I read the bylaw, I didn't really dole into it that far, but as I read the bylaw, it's what the affordable family or person who's wanting to buy it can afford. I think there's a formula.
There is, and it's not really part of this discussion.
Yeah.
About
It
what
comes
this
a little
would
bit further.
be built for or sell for.
So I'll throw out a number of 500 to 600, and does anybody else think too low, too high?
Bob?
You need to establish a way that the bylaw states the average market sales price is established.
For a,
And without any units, any developed lots being sold, then if you say, you could say it's an 800,000, what happens if?
It's-
but they
The problem I have-
wouldn't build an $800,000
No, but that's
house for.
The
assumption.
problem I have is that it's arbitrary.
That's.
That's why I feel that way too. I would rather the market sale. If he sells a lot, say, for the 200, or if he sells it for 300, 6% on that sale, that's the market value. And that's what the assessor told me. That's how they do it. That's the market price. And they assess it as such. So in other words, and if you recall, even as an example, in a block of your neighborhood, if there's a new home that's just like yours, your property is gonna go up when that's sold, because they base it on what was sold. That's the value.
Well, there's other factors like being in a subdivision makes it worth more than being on just a,
Perhaps, I'm
High
not
road.
sure about that, but I
Yeah,
just
it
feel,
is.
I'm not
Well,
in a subdivision, so.
What I, trying to move the meeting along, and, I think I've heard 3 parties that, you know, and I can't vote. I think I've heard 2 voting parties that are, you know, are on the same page. Bob, where are you with this?
Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. I mean, to me, it's really difficult because we're weighing kind of an arbitrary number versus not taking into consideration the value of the dwelling under these circumstances.
What I meant by my question was, and I didn't word it very well, Harry has expressed his opinion of just going with 2 lots developed and working on the ordinance, and I think I heard Tilly say that's where she's come to, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well,
And so I'm asking you in that light, so that we can move this along. I mean, if the majority of the board wants to go in that direction, then
It's very difficult because, well, I mean, we could go in the direction of kind of eating the cash flow and saying, we'll wait until everything is sold. We could use arithmetic and try to come up with something. We could stick to the letter and have 2 units. I don't think any of these solutions are really great solutions.
So you have to look
can
at
stick
what's
to
the worst.
bylaw, which is straightforward, of 2 units being built on the site, right? And you can stick to the bylaw and accept in lieu of payments based upon average market sales price.
Which we don't have.
But you can work with the bylaw in understanding how to establish that average market sales price for an undeveloped lot.
Can you give an example? Can you further elaborate on that?
How would that work for the developer,
Explain to me how it would work with
as
the-
far as how does he know how much he's gonna have to pay when he sells the lot?
He's gonna have to pay 6% of whatever the improved value of the lot is.
But he doesn't know what that is if he's not building it and selling it. That's why we just have to come up with a number that is reasonable.
Can we stipulate,
Well, let me do this then.
can we stipulate something in the deed?
Can the board determine if they want it tonight, take this route to come up with a number? Do you guys wanna do that? Do you guys wanna come up with an arbitrary number of what this thing is worth? And establish that as the price value of the lots? Do you wanna do that? Cause if you do, then we'll keep talking about this, but if you don't, let's move on to another subject.
The bylaw clearly is not telling you to do the average. It's saying housing contribution payments under I-2B. 2B says required housing contribution payments shall be made with respect to each market rate housing unit. And goes on to or rental unit prior to issuance of occupancy. So it doesn't say that you have to average anything. Am I reading?
It says housing
correctly?
unit.
It's in lieu of payments, and I believe it's section G.
G?
Offsite affordable housing creation. Formula in the bylaw, amount of in lieu of offsite housing contribution payments for ownership developments, the amount of in lieu of offsite housing contribution payment shall be equal to, and in there, part of the formula is the AMSP, the average market sale price.
Right.
So if you looked at an average market sale price of a new four-bedroom house in Georgetown, and you look at a dozen of them, if there are a dozen to even look at. It'd probably be at least the 650, it wouldn't be 500 or 600, even those
Say it's
houses on
550,
North Street.
Does this, all right.
I just
I'm
hate
gonna
to-
start calling this, so we gotta start moving on. I've asked this question 3 times and I haven't gotten any answer. Does the board wanna take a vote that you wanna pursue this avenue and come up with a number or not? And if you do, then this is a direction we'll go in. If you don't, then we'll move on to what we had before on the table, which was this discussion of 2 lots and on-site be done, follow the bylaw and.
2 units, what's that?
Yeah, yeah. We're just talking around now, and it's 10 of 9.
Okay, up to 2 units.
2 units.
Evidently, nobody else is, so go
Tilly?
with
You
mine.
know, I would, that's Occam's razor, I think, that's the simplest approach.
If it,
The reason I'm looking to it is because we're talking about all kinds of money. I'm looking at this as the planning board, and I know that sometimes it's the right thing to do to reach out and find out what the developer wants, what the task force wants, what this one and that one wants. But sometimes I feel like I'm sitting here and I should take responsibility for what a planning board should do. I'm very sorry, but with all due respect to the task force and the trust, I've been seeing the numbers for the ISH go down, keep going down. We're kicking 22 new units in. The numbers haven't been going up. We're getting closer and closer and closer to that 10%. And the only thing I hear from you folks is we need more rental housing, which isn't going to raise that number. And
But I don't, let's not go into that discussion.
and so I look at it as though, what can I do from my seat here? I can at least vote for 2 new houses and some money for you. That's how I look at it, and that's where I'm coming from.
I would agree with that completely.
Simplistic as it may be.
I would agree with that
You know,
completely.
it is easier the way you're saying it. It was a lot simpler for everybody concerned, you know. We
It's-
wouldn't have that much involvement with,
And the caveat to that is that it's recognized that the way the ordinance is written right now is not working very well and it needs to be cleaned up.
yeah.
So this is doing the best you can with what you've got and moving on.
If it pleases the board, I can look at the bylaw more. It seems like the only hangup is the issue of the average market sales price. And I can look through the bylaw again and get a clarification at the next meeting on how that can be done.
So are you suggesting we table this and we continue this discussion?
I'm just
of
saying,
price?
if the board, if the board wants the average market sales price and how that would be calculated clarified to a
Okay.
greater extent, then I'm
Does-
happy to go out and do that.
Okay.
Do you want that?
Yes.
Bob, do you want that?
As long as we're not just kicking the can down the road, then.
You gotta make a decision, Bob.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't wanna
Come on,
make a
Bob.
You wanna get the can with your left foot or your right? Your call.
The world's not gonna end. We're not brain scientists here. We're not cutting up someone's head.
We have until
It's-
September 30th to
This
get
is-
this done.
And, well, it would be great if it was done sooner than that, but what can be
Yeah, right.
done is that I can write up the part of the conditions much more clearly for the 2 options that the board has simmered all this down to.
I would much prefer an in lieu of cash amount.
You would prefer the cash amount?
I'd prefer the cash
Versus the
amount.
2 on site? Okay.
I know it's harder and it's messier and
Okay,
it's,
so there are 2 there and you've already expressed yours and.
I've expressed mine, and I believe that
So
the
that's
2
a-
should be at the 11th, before the release of the 11th lot, and before the 15th lot release.
And before-
And that would be how those conditions would be.
But, and before we go
If
there,
I
so
had my
you, so you have 2 and 2.
Pretty simple.
What happens with that, when you have 2 and 2?
I'm gonna come back to the next meeting and clarify the concerns of the 2 members about the AMSP, and we'll be able to decide it then.
Okay.
Nothing with regard to the decision, just kind of make one, it's given the fact that the applicant is the one that actually asked the board for the in lieu, we're withdrawing the request for the in lieu payment, we're just gonna deliver the 2 on sites.
okay.
There we go.
In light of that, I would suggest that one of the conditions be that the first affordable housing unit be created no later than the 11th lot release. And the second be created, at which time I might add the fractional payment be made in toto. In total. And
The
prior
first
to the
housing
release.
unit created no later than the 11th,
In other words, that affordable housing unit is gonna be the 11th unit,
right?
the 11th unit released.
On
Why
before.
do you suggest?
On or before.
Why do you suggest 11 versus another?
Numbers. They're not
Because
gonna
there's-
walk away before then, they're gonna have enough money to do it by then. It's all in the spreadsheet, in my head.
I'd like it.
Sorry.
Well, you don't want them to, you.
I'm seeing blocks,
I
I'm
think it
not
wants-
using numbers.
I think you want that to be a little earlier in the process. I don't think you want to wait till 11.
Yeah, that's all.
I wanna make sure that they don't go belly up before it happens. I wanna make sure they have ample amounts of money to do it and do it right.
That is not your worry or job. That is not you're taking on their role. You might as well go sit over there, Harry.
No, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that it gets created without any problem.
you can't,
How about
you're
the
going down a
5th
different
the
road there,
5th and
Harry.
the 11th?
Oh, you like
I like it a little bit, I like to, how about the 5th sale?
I think that
Develop.
before,
11th.
by the time you're halfway through your
Well,
development, there's no way they're walking away.
to state specifically it's the 5th is gonna impede the developer because because the 5th person that comes in and buys something,
It's gonna be lots that sell first.
I know.
lots,
Why do you think
it could be
Ponzi-
2 lots, 3
Ponzi's
lots
dead?
sold. But for you to say it's the 5th one, that,
That has to be the affordable housing unit.
I think that's an unreasonable
22.
look at that regulation. If you give him the ability to say it's gonna be in the first 10, in the next 10, then it offers him flexibility in how he sells lots and how he develops the site in order to gain the money to develop that affordable housing unit. But if you say the 5th, it may be possible he sells 3 lots to collect money to help offset the cost of the infrastructure, and then he builds 1 home, and the second one needs to be an affordable that he can't sell.
I don't think, as Rob
So-
has mentioned, I don't think we concern ourselves with that.
Okay, then.
We're not the
so-
developer,
then
we're
it's very-
concerned about getting these 2 units for the
I understand that, I
ISH.
understand that, Tilly, but
That's
you,
the
but you
goal.
can't tell the developer the 5th and the 11th.
Why not? I'm saying
It's
Well,
unreasonable.
It's legal, we can do it.
5th and 11th.
We can do it, but, I wouldn't vote for
I
it.
think you're questioning the
Because
wisdom,
it's
the
not
wisdom of that.
practical.
What do you,
I mean, you
oh, I
have to.
think,
you
I
have
think
to-
11 is
So
too
why
far.
don't you,
No, not at all. It's halfway.
why don't you say the first 10? You know, what
After
Howard
the
threw
first
out.
10?
Yeah, after
That's
the
a good
first
way to put it.
10. Or within, how did you word it?
Yeah, that's a
Harry
good way to
wrote,
put it.
the first affordable housing unit created no later than the 11th, on or before the 11th lot.
But I like the way you said it, the first,
No.
after the first 10. I like it better that way.
You said something,
After the,
you said within the first 10? You gave it a flexible,
the first affordable housing unit created no later, or on or before the 11th lot is sold.
I guess that's the same.
And then you can say the second housing unit created no later than the
15th.
20th,
The 15th.
the 15th, or the
20's
16th.
too close.
Right.
Spreadsheet might say walk.
Yeah. All right, I'll concede to that. But I would prefer that 11.
Not gonna walk over, then
I would,
not
how
gonna leave
about
5 lots
7?
on the
How
table.
about 7 and 15?
All right, so, do you want to,
I can revise the decision, have it.
It's numbers, it's just numbers. Numbers,
All right.
sequence.
all right, so, that takes care of that. Is that correct?
Right, and then we can move on to the spot decision.
What about the fractional payment now? That's another issue.
He's got,
I thought
he's got that in.
I made suggested language there, that the total of the fractional payment is made at the 11th. That
For
was my
the
suggested
total, right.
language.
At the
Yes,
11th.
right then, right there, one shot, bang, done.
So by the 11th law,
Okay.
you'd probably have to average it out to do
Well,
You already have
We'll-
numbers. You
we'll-
have 10 to
10,
look
10.
at.
okay,
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
got 10
move, we're
numbers.
gonna move on to the spot now, and we have an opportunity to take a look at what Howard
Okay.
draws up.
So, is
So-
that it, Ron? As far as,
Yeah,
we've gone through everything here?
I think we have.
He's gonna
He's
come
got
up
all,
with,
he's gonna come up with the final, to look at.
and are we gonna vote on it, or?
Yeah, when he comes back with
When
that.
he comes back with
So we're gonna do that in 2
And
weeks?
I'll also have
Yeah.
the sync done with the plans. And that wasn't
Sounds
overdone.
perfect. Yeah, you'll have it all right, written down the right way.
Maybe
Great.
even Mylars at the next meeting.
Great.
Okay, so,
Phenomenal.
we're gonna go to site plan approval, 1719 West Main Street, revised decision. Howard, you wanna give an update?
The site plan approval with conditions is revised, and it's been revised with a few comments from the last meeting of the board. Jill, you got Mylars?
Is that still time?
Excuse me, I have to take this.
last meeting, the board requested the applicant to provide a Mylar and paper copies. The only requested change to the Mylar was that the date of approval and then a revised date to reflect that some changes were made from the approval date that were the conditions of the site plan. And those have been, that revision date's now shown on the Mylar.
And we double check that photo, it can be accepted.
Okay.
This is the,
Great.
So Rob and Tim were not at the last meeting
yep.
for them to be able to add in comments, and they're both voting members too.
Okay. Tim, you wanna, any comments on the decision?
On the
as
spot?
written? On the spot? If you-
No.
No, okay. On the decision, the findings of fact, number 4. And the annual impact of the site plan on the character of the town is minimal if the project involves redevelopment of an existing parcel of land. And I would get rid of the word redevelopment, because it's not redevelopment of the site. It's using the existing conditions.
Right.
So that would just be a wordsmithing of that one.
I can borrow from the notice public hearing of, involves exterior
Perfect.
alteration
Yep, perfect.
of an existing, not parcel, but existing facade and occupancy of a building.
Yep. Number 5 on page 3, we're talking about stormwater, no increase in stormwater. We also talked about there was no change of direction in stormwater.
Stormwater runoff generated by the site's area of impervious surface is currently being managed. Proposed development will not
Increase or change direction of stormwater flow.
or change direction
Um,
of stormwater flow.
1 on the same page, 1 paragraph C, the planning board will endorse the project, delete application of signatures.
With-
Delete
with
application.
signature.
Yeah, with signatures, not delete the word application. Okay. And then the only other, well, this would be more to the plan, but this is, so the plan references a new tree,
Yes.
right? No, is it anything serious? No. As long as it's not. Okay, so the plan references the one new tree, and would like to know if the applicant would consider working with, and we haven't talked with the highway department yet, and the board hasn't talked about this yet, so this is brand new, but taking the tree pit that's there and enlarging the tree pit, and the town surveyor would be doing that work. It's in the sidewalk, it would be a saw cutting issue, and we haven't spoken with him, but it would be to maximize the growing medium for the tree. And I guess I see this as an opportunity for the town to start to show how urban street tree plantings can be done, and should be done. So, you know, if you guys would consider that, then I'm not sure how or when we do it, but we would talk to Highway. If the board is in agreement, we would talk to Highway and just say.
You're just informing the applicant that you'd like to have the applicant coordinate with the highway surveyor when it comes time to install the street tree that's shown on the plan.
I don't think they have an issue with that, it's just that, you know, that sometimes coordinating with a town department isn't the easiest thing in the world. And then we won't be able to just get it in, and our goal for the most part is to get it in and get it done. Yeah, of course, we'll try, but we'll try.
Isn't
All right,
this
well-
one already open?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, why can't we, what I don't wanna have happen, there's an opportunity here, why can't we wait till why can't the tree go in at the time it does get coordinated?
We can try, I mean, we can try to do that. The best time to do it is gonna be in the fall. So we don't wanna plant it when it's gonna die. We don't wanna plant it, we wouldn't wanna plant, well, maybe right now wouldn't be so bad.
You actually probably wanna wait till the spring. You're gonna have the best choice of plant material then? All the good stuff is gone?
Oh, okay, I see, I don't know.
With all due
But,
respect,
yeah.
I would think that one of the concerns that we may want to have, considering that the applicant came in wanting to cut the tree down because it was blocking the new signage that was approved by the ZBA, we may want to put a drop-dead date on the installation, because we wouldn't want these problems
We prefer a drop
delaying.
date, we prefer it, honestly.
Yeah, you probably want something like that. Because, I mean, if I were the applicant
So
and
do
I
you
didn't
think
want a
spring?
tree out there blocking my sign,
I think
I'd
spring.
make sure there were problems.
Mark is very
confusion.
amenable to
Spring.
working with the town.
Spring 2015.
Sure.
February, March, April, May. I would say May, June 15th, yeah, it's good. I'd say by June 15th would be the latest. So that was the only other thing. What do you need around that, Howard?
I'm just looking for a place to write it in. Street tree
Planted.
shown on approved site plan to be installed
Spring.
in spring
Do you wanna say no
2015, no later than
June 15th.
June 15th. We'll make it the 20th and make it the equinox.
And
Isn't it
then,
the 21st that day?
And then the coordination with the highway
Right.
surveyor. So that gives him all this time for us to talk about it with him and get him on board.
Okay. Any other comments for the site plan approval decision? If not,
I voted no, so.
okay. If not, the board can vote on the decision if you want to make part of that motion to approve the decision, depending upon revisions made at tonight's meeting, and to sign subsequently, once the town planner's notified the board that the decision's been revised. If that makes sense, I know it's wordy.
Well, aren't we just approving the decision first?
Yeah.
What's that?
Aren't we just approving the decision first?
You can approve the decision as amended at
As
tonight's
amended,
meeting.
right. So, do I hear a motion to that effect from anybody?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
So, okay, there's been a motion and it's been seconded to approve the decision as revised per August 27th Planning Board meeting. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Harry?
Abstention, Mr. Chairman.
And we got an abstention. Okay.
You want to take a vote to approve the site plan with signing the Mylar?
Yep, and my only question on the site plan, Howard, is, as I haven't seen the revised drawings, all of those issues that we talked about before, like signage for getting in and out, the parking spaces being allocated, turned at the dumpster, and those things, those are all on the drawings?
Yes.
Yeah, like, so do I hear a motion to?
With all due respect, I believe that motion was made, seconded, and voted at our last meeting.
On the plan?
Yes.
Provided I deliver to you the changes.
No, I was just at.
All right,
But-
so
but-
the
Are
Mylar,
we
then.
voting?
No, okay.
But you voted on the site plan
Right.
at the last meeting,
Right.
based upon certain changes. to
Contingent
a-
upon.
Right, and so,
Oh, they haven't
that's
been-
been done,
They've
and
been
those
done.
changes been made.
So we're done.
You can go ahead and sign the Mylar. I was just suggesting to
Yep.
be thorough that you just vote to sign the Mylar. If you wanna do that, you can go ahead and sign it.
Yep, no, I agree with Harry. I think what he said is right.
If it's done, it's done.
Yep.
And while you're up there, please sign the paper copy
Okay,
for the planning office.
so that takes care of that. You guys wanna start signing that Mylar? We could go on one member at a time up there, and we could go on to, does any member have any concern for the planning board at this point?
I do have it.
Yeah, we're almost done.
I didn't come here.
Can you wait a couple minutes?
But, my concern
Or-
about,
get
the
it
site
to-
approval process is that if another board makes a decision on whatever they have to do, and it duplicates what the planning board has to do, that we should, excuse me, in my opinion, I think we should follow our site approval as we have it written, regardless of what another board has done. Because I think with, particularly with this one that we just finished, clearly we have it written in there that we should be concentrating on a New England type village. And we never really discussed and went into it. And we really shouldn't ignore our regulations because some other board has taken it over. Does that make clear?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What I'd like to do is that is a worthy discussion, and I'd like to acknowledge it and make sure that it gets put on the next available agenda for us to talk about.
Sure.
Thanks.
So that would address the members' report section of the agenda, and then the planning office and special town meeting portion of the agenda, where I'll throw that back to Howard.
The warrant for a special town meeting has been opened by the Board of Selectmen at their meeting on Monday, I believe. And this board certainly doesn't have the time to review bylaw changes, in terms of comprehensive bylaw changes, solar and things like that. But I would like to suggest that the board do something for special town meeting that was nearly completed, but not done for annual town meeting. That was, we got close, but we didn't have, we got really close to doing things such as changing the land use schedule and changing some aspects of the definitions. So I think we can easily pick that up and just carry it over the finish line in time for being on the warrant for special town meeting. So if that's, and the board approves of that, then I can just make a notice in the paper and have that for the second meeting in September. It's almost done, and then you just carry it over one meeting in October, and then you can close it.
I like it.
Agree.
Meets all the timelines?
Well,
What's that?
Meets all the timelines?
what-
2 weeks?
If we get it done in 2 meetings.
What happened?
You probably have to do it in
The communication and working out that affordable housing accessory apartment.
They're still in discussion with the zoning board,
Oh,
so they're not ready to come to the planning board.
because that was their goal to do that at
It
the
is,
fall.
it is. They're still working hard on it.
Yeah, okay.
So it
But
sounds like.
even if it was done coming before the board, it's gonna be kind of a comprehensive effort with us too.
So it sounds like Scott is marching orders.
My only concern is the time. Can we hold, can we open, can we notice and open a hearing in time to have everything put together, look at it, and then move
Close
it,
and submit to the
close
warrant.
in time to have it, the report to the select board?
I can give,
To the town.
I can look into the
Excuse me, town
timeline
meeting.
and send it out to the board, tomorrow, so.
With all due respect, all I'm saying is look at it. If it works, I'm good to go.
All right.
That's how I believe it.
I
mean,
agree.
I don't need to look at a timeline and say, oh, yeah.
Right.
You can look at it and
I
say, yeah.
I believe we have,
He's putting it,
Impressed,
he's
but we
putting the
don't have time.
responsibility on you.
If it counts, it counts.
Thank you.
Howard, I'm just gonna pick that up when I get the idea of the sign decision.
okay.
All right, folks, I think that concludes the meeting.
Motion,
I have a
Motion to
question.
adjourn?
motion to listen to Bob.
I have
Yes.
one question, and it's about the building that's next to the lot in downtown Georgetown, next to the open lot.
Municipal parking lot?
No, it's,
Next to the bank?
yeah,
It's Hill's house.
it
CB
says
Hill.
something
CB Hill.
hotel.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
is,
CB Hill?
I have,
That's CB Hill
Was
building.
it?
the
No,
one right beside the bank, Harry.
it's between, it's between the bank, I
It's the old
think,
one with the garage
and,
back.
and the
historic
vacant
one
lot,
that
right in the
Isn't
center
that
of
old Bank
town.
of
fighting
America?
all those years.
That's CB
Yeah.
Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
taking the paint, they were taking.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work on it. It's nice.
But it says hotel, I mean,
Yeah.
Is that
I don't know.
a historical plaque,
I
maybe?
don't know.
no, I don't know what it is, but I was thinking, I haven't heard of anything, here about that. It
How
just
old-
We're
sounds
gonna
like-
talk about litigation tonight.
It's Allen Olson.
That's done.
Motion
That's
to
last
adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.